Welcome back, everyone. This is Thomas Triple T Time with another new bullish crypto analysis. Before we dig in, at any time during this video, when you find value, feel free to smash the like, ring my bell, hit subscribe, or leave your thoughts in the comments section. Let's dig in and take a look at the market. Let me get my screen switched properly here. Okay, excuse me. Mouse highlighter on. Let's go. Crypto market, it's blood red. Bitcoin's is down at 37.4k. Dominance is dropped. It dropped 3.32%. And I'll go into more about Bitcoin later on in a separate video dedicated for Bitcoin. Dominance is dropping down to 42.34. Ethereum's down 2.4, make it 2.5k. Dominance dropping again, 17.63. Almost everything else is red. We got a few other cryptos that are in the positive, but like the TUSD, that's a stable coin. So we're not going to count that. Leo. And this one, I can't read it. US something. Excuse me. Luna is continues to drop. So overall, crypto market, it's blood red. Not good. Not a good day. Let's go into the U.S. stock markets. Here we have blood red overall. We got some major trend down, negative trends here. You got technologies is pretty much red. Communication services pretty much red. We got consumer silico, same thing. Consumer defensive, mostly red, some greens here. Financials, financial, red. You got healthcare, some reds and greens. Diagnostic down in this area here, mostly red. We got down here, mostly red. Industrials, somewhat red. Railroads, we got somewhat red here, or mostly red, including farm, airline, etc. down here. Real estate, mostly red. Energy sector, not surprising. More greens than, I believe, it's about 50-50, but more greens than the other sectors. Basic materials, you got mostly, like 2/3 reds, and we got some greens here. We got gold, green, that's not a surprise. You got agriculture, that's somewhat green here. So overall, stock market's down. Pretty bad day for the stock market. Let's jump into the chart. If I can get there. Here we go. Before we dive into the chart, this is the 30-minute time frame, and we're looking at 7-minute cross, but we're not going to go there yet. We're going to go over here in this column here on the far right. VIX, that's the volatility index, showing the fear, if you will, fear and greed equivalent for the stock market. It's up at 35. Anything over 30, that's fearful. So yeah, the volatility is pretty high right now. Not surprising. We got a change of 11 plus percentage points. And Dixie, we'll dive into Dixie in a little bit here. But Dixie is slightly up. It's just north of 99. That's pretty high for recent time. We'll dive in here soon. Let's go down to oil. U.S. oil is continuing to rise. I think it's at over a dozen or so years high here, at 119 north of that. We got gold again, trending up. Not surprising there. And so let's go down. Let's go cover euro versus USD pairing here, and that's down. So the euro is taking a dive. You got the pound versus USD. That's also down. That's taking a beating there too. And you got USD versus the yen, and that's positive. So strengthen the dollar. That's basically what that's telling us. So let's dive into this area. U.S. markets over here in the far left, European and stocks 600 in the middle, Australia and Asian market on the far right. So let's go to take a look. So Bitcoin was over the weekend pretty much trended down. It went choppy, but then overall it went it went choppy then down, and then hours before the market opened, it went up surprisingly. And I was going to do this video earlier, but I wanted to wait to see how the market would react and see if Bitcoin would actually go back to positive correlation with S&P 500 and also the NASDAQ, and also negative correlation with DXDY. I wanted to wait and see, and I waited, and it returned. So let's take a look. When Bitcoin at the tail end of the weekend was going up, we can see that the Dixie was also going up. Well, that's, usually that's not the case. Usually it's a negative correlation. So as you can see, Bitcoin dove down as the Dixie went up, continue up. So negative correlation holds for this period after the market opened. As far as NASDAQ and S&P 500 and also the Dow, all three tanked down at after market opening. The Dow show a little bit of recovery, but still it's still below where it opened. So stock market, as you can see in the heat map, it's pretty red, and so positive correlation with Bitcoin after the market opened continue to hold for NASDAQ and S&P 500 with Bitcoin. And you can see here the Dixie has been rising for all last week and through the tail end of the weekend and also now. So that indicates people are going risk off. The dollar is rising, its value is increasing. As far as the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, that it went up towards the tail end of the weekend, dipped down and going back up here. But overall, if you trace the trend for like a week-long trend, it is still descending. And when the yield is descending, that means that more people are buying into it because of the risk-off environment. So when more people, there's higher demand, the yield drops. That makes sense, right? All right. So let's go to the European and the European and the stock 600. European market in their last trading session, they opened, went up, then went down, kind of somewhat choppy. But overall, if you look at a 7-day trend, it's still descending. See that? Same thing with the DAX from Germany. It went up in its last previous session, closed slightly down, but overall still trending down. The CAC from France, similar story. The stock 600, that's 600 stocks across 7 countries. You see that it opened, it went up, went down, and this looks like it's going up higher, but because the range here, it's more expanded vertically, so it seems more pronounced, but it's pretty much the same trend as these three up here. So overall, in a 7-day period, it's still on a downward trend. Let's go over to Asia, but first, let's go to Australia. Australia in its last period opened below where below its last closing period, and then pretty much stayed toward the bottom. So bearish there too. The Nikkei opened below its previous trading period and stayed below. Same thing with the KOSPI from South Korea. That's also this opened below and pretty much stayed choppy there. And the Hang Seng HSI from Hong Kong opened below and stayed down there. So overall, stock market across the world is on a downward trend or continuing on a downward trend. Risk-off environment as shown by the Dixie going up, continue to go up, and also the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield continue on average to trend downward. And we see that oil is increasing, and that's going to increase the risk of high inflation. So yeah, looks pretty tough for the market right now. As far as what's going on in with the geopolitical environment, Russia is continuing the invasion of Ukraine, and it's getting a little bit more brutal. They're shelling and harming civilians and also residential areas. And they had that third talk, and really not much came out of it. And at this time, what we can expect from it is for the invasion to continue, and for Russia to get a little bit more desperate as more time passes, because they want to wrap this up. I think initially they probably expected a 2-day invasion, and they would have a surrender, but that's not the case. And the West is considering, especially the U.S., is considering implementing an oil and gas, natural gas embargo against Russia. What that means is they're going to stop importing oil and crude oil and natural gas. That doesn't impact the U.S. as much as Europe, because Europe is more dependent on Russia for energy. So overall, in summary, dismal stock market across the world. Bitcoin continues to dip, and I'll do a separate video right after this for Bitcoin, and we'll take a look at where it may trend. I appreciate your time. Feel free to smash the like, ring my bell, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video later today. Peace.